lot to come out of that in terms of, oh my God. And for that reason, I don't want to see that as doom and gloom. I had so much joy just watching it. It was amazing.
And I don't think a lot of our American viewers know like how hard you guys are locked down there compared to where we are here. Because like some places here in America is like they're kind of in a hardcore lockdown and not leaving. Some places are still kind of doing this. You want to explain like what your situation is out there?
So right after New Year, the Prime Minister has decided, okay, that's it. Like we had initially 3 tiers, which is like, you know, several different stages of how much needs to lock down. But all of a sudden, tier 4 appeared. So now we are in tier 4. Let's we get England gamified it. Not that anybody in the country is in any other tier. After New Year, they have decided no, everybody is in tier 4, including Scotland, by the way. And Scotland has taken it actually even a step further and has on top of the tier 4 another couple of rules for what can be done and what can't be done. So what tier 4 means for us is actually roads are barricaded. You can no longer go out of your district. So even if you tried, there's barricades, there's police. You can't. You can and should go to your local store. There's no driving to a larger store or anything. You need to go to your local store. If they don't have anything, do your shopping online, which is extremely difficult because they don't have enough slots. The entrance system to any store, grocery store that is like you have green light, green light or red light, and you have actually even a security guard behind that as well. Upon entry, you have to, do your hand stuff, hand sanitizing and so on, and you have to wear a mask. Only one person can go in. When you have deliveries, you have to both wear masks, whether you are the owner of the house or not. So you have to put your mask on. The person who delivers has to put the mask on. There's nothing else open apart from necessary stores, and that is being written down by the government. So that's it. Nothing else is open. You are advised, this is not law, but you're advised to go only out for once a day, no more than an hour, for your exercise. So this is the rules and regulations. Obviously, if there is a wedding, you can't do it. If there's a funeral, you can't do it, more or less. It's like there's like loads. Any kind of gathering is like a no-go. That's why Leeds was so funny for me. Like, everybody was just like, screw you, I had enough of all of this, I'm gonna go out. It was really good.
Yeah, because I know you guys are under a lot more regulations. Like here, we're out in the country a bit, so we're away from everyone. So, like the nearest person to us is like a half-mile away, but you guys are kind of all up on top of each other.
Yeah, well, right in London anyway, like any city, you left, right, center, you have your neighbors. There's no other. I mean, Tony and I are extremely lucky because where we are, yes, we have one full townhouse for ourselves, so there's not much in terms of contact in that respect. And there's a 2-meter distance to the next door anyway, either way, at least. And then the other thing is we do have a huge park, and I mean a huge park, literally just 2 minutes walk from us. So we are in a lucky position. But if we are walking just alongside the street, you're bound to bump into people. I mean, Europe is anyway a lot smaller than the US is. You will have to drive, even if you're in a small town. Here, within 2 minutes walk, we have a French bakery, a couple of other bakeries. We have coffee shops. We have, none of it is open, apart from the bakeries because they are class necessities. But other than that, we have literally everything in walkable distance. If we wanted to, we can walk right into the center of London. That's it. Not that it is advised right now, but we could if
You're
we
gonna walk
want.
right over to King's Cross and
Yeah,
go chill.
yeah, we could. Yeah, and you can't do that. Try doing that in LA or in Kansas even. I can't imagine Kansas to be any different than LA in that respect, or New York. Imagine you're walking. It's utopia. It's like no, you will be out for 3 hours before you are walking into a closed store.
See, and around here, I'm in Kansas, and everybody is basically treats it like, go about your day, wear a mask, and you know, life goes on.
Yeah,
So it's almost like it's acceptable to just it's over here. You know what I mean? Like they're just accepting what's going to happen, I guess. So to me, I find it interesting, and since I've actually already had it, like to me, I'm like, well, I guess, but like it sucks. But it's like I don't know. I find this place so kind of forward, backward kind of thinking.
it is a backward forward thing, but you know what, it doesn't do us any good because quite literally, and the UK is feeling this more and more, and this is why people are getting um restless. I would say restless in the way of this is not working, and therefore they are like breaking free. It's like for every lockdown you have, all you do is pushing the inevitable a little bit further down the line. You open up, of course cases are rising. It's like this is a no-brainer. Like, yes, you just pushed everything just down the line. Like, you did not avoid anything. You did not change anything at all. All you did is just push it further down the line. And what you do is then you lock down again. So you're trapped in this cycle. And people are actually, because we have now gone through this cycle 4 times. And next door to us we have Sweden. The news are not as far away for us from them than America. You I don't think you get much to hear from Sweden. I mean, I'm hearing even more because my cousin lives in Sweden. He's married there, has a little one there. So I'm getting like my weekly updates literally from him live as he goes along in his life. And I'm getting other updates from Germany because part of my family lives still there, and I'm still getting updates through Tony because part of his family is living in France, and another part lives out in Texas, and another part lives out in Australia. So we are getting actually live news from much more than anyone else. So what I see, and another friend of mine lives as well out in Switzerland, which is a total different subject entirely, because Switzerland is saying, no, we are not getting any vaccines, we are not buying it, because they have not been going through the rigorous testing phases that we need for our legal processes. They have actually gone with the initial suggestion, because that came out of France initially, hydroxychloroquine, zinc, and vitamin C. And they have had huge success with that, and say, no, we are good, thank you very much. And their cases have plummeted with that approach immensely. So Switzerland as a whole country is an interesting
That's one of the ones I was going to mention was Switzerland's, because I have friends out there and they're just like, we don't even walk around with masks because we started taking care of stuff in the beginning.
yeah.
They said I laughed. I was like, it's kind of neat. And he's like, yeah, we no problems.
This is exactly what it is, and it's fascinating for me to watch, because Sweden had a slightly different approach to Switzerland, and both are successful. That's what it is. Their cases are going down and going down. It's getting less and less and less. Herd immunity, as the WHO is defining it now. They changed the definition of herd immunity about 6 months ago. into, can only be achieved by vaccine versus what it was and always has been and always will be, natural herd immunity, coming from you have it and you are healthy thereafter again. Therefore, your immunity is natural and can actually fight it off in any way, shape, or form. So it's fascinating for me to talk to my friends out in Switzerland and to my cousin out in Sweden, but then also with my family out in Germany, because obviously they see a whole different aspect to what is going on in addition. Mainly the older generation of my family sees a lot of Hitler-esque style approach, which they do not appreciate, as you can imagine. So it's it's fascinating in general to listen and to hear what other countries do. It gives you actually also the perspective to simply stay back and say, you know what, Tony and I made actually the decision. We personally are not as affected anyway. So tell us we have to lock down. Yeah, fine, we'll stay in. We have our job indoors. We don't have to go into London. And that reminds me often of, what I've done before 5 years ago still, when I was working every day in London, commuted into London every day, working for Barclays, Deutsche Bank, banks in general as a VIP, video conference operator. So much what your backend Cody does right now would have been my job, but for the top 50 of banks, really. So I was, conferencing together Singapore and Germany and London, for example, and held the connection and so on. So that was my job until 5 years ago, although that's not what I studied. It's just what I ended up doing.
So with the COVID, I know it's we talked before with Tony about how you guys have been able to adapt and stuff like that. But for you as being like, because you're kind of the glue, because Tony, I see him as like kind of the dreamer and stuff like that. And I almost feel like you're the one that keeps the food going and you're the one that keeps everything going and kind of the planner of the two. Am I right with that feeling or am I off?
Half and half. Tony and
Because
I know we are intriguing to many people because we have our roles when it comes to, let's say everything is under pressure, we have our roles. The roles are very much like, yes, Tony is the one who is fighting right into his vision. He's like up front, he's spearheading everything. Now I'm in the back end and holding literally this up and I'm doing the bobbing and weaving to keep everything together.
yeah, see, I always feel like you're the one that puts all the buttons together, like takes all of the pieces and makes it complete.
Yeah, that's kind of the roles we have adapted. But come to a leisure approach, I love, putting my creativity in there as well. I'm going my own way. I have no drama whatsoever, spearheading my own thing. And then Tony starts to bob and weave. He's then in the back end. So we can role reverse, but push comes to shove and both of us are under pressure. That's the way the dice falls. That's just it. And we never question. We just both feel like, oh, hang on, this doesn't quite work out. And whoever notices will do. And then we just figure out who takes more natural to it. So that's how we work.
And for those of you that out there that don't know, Tony and Carmen, um, they, it, I'll let you explain it. Let's let you explain it because I know a lot of people out there probably are new and just have never really met you. Let's go through the Tony and Carmen Superfly. Actually, let's go like when he met you and he was taking the pictures.
Oh, wow. Okay, you're going right back. So
Oh
let
yeah.
me even go a little bit further back so you know how I ended up where I was, for Tony to get where he was. Um, so I I studied in Germany education. So I'm running under the title ed accredited educationally. Sounds a mouthful, but it's a lot, like 5 year studies around psychology, pedagogy, anthropology, like a lot of G's. Uh, so all cut it short, like
Perfect way to put you right in the middle of the car market, right?
absolutely 100%. So this is, I just say that so people actually understand where I'm coming from. Like, going into that, however, I already lost my dad when I was 16. I loved cars, don't get me wrong, but there was no natural entrance for me. At least not in Germany. As like Germany, and I spoke to you about that. It's still blinker on conversations, and it's really, really tough for a woman to get into certain positions. That's not to say that I I have had and always will have a hell of a lot of people coming right out of the car market who are my friends. They always have been my personal friends, and I was tinkering in garages with people. I was driving cars. I was, coming up with my own ideas and pass them on to other people. But right after my studies in 2000, so I finished in 1999. In 2000, I had so enough from Germany, not necessarily of Germany in general, but my mother very specifically, because she's incredibly manipulative, brainwashing, pure narcissistic, and although I moved out on my 18th birthday, she was just literally targeting me wherever she could and interfered with my life whenever she found a possibility. And I just simply had enough. I couldn't take it anymore. And I felt so much under pressure that I thought, I love the rest of my family, don't get me wrong, but I cannot be in close proximity to that woman who will find, no matter how, a way to get to anybody who is working close to me, only to get me to fall. And I can't have that. I can't live a life where I constantly have to look over my shoulder. It just,
And
I just
always be prepared to fail, like having somebody there
well,
that just
my mind was actually constantly going to failure. Oh, I'm hoping I'm not failing. Like it was I was going nuts. I was literally going nuts. I felt like my life is no longer my own. And I, I actually fought for my life to be my own. So when my dad died at 15, that just became a whole lot more worse. The last 4 years until I was 18 was, yeah, just long story short, I was close to actually committing suicide. I just couldn't handle it. I just couldn't hack it. So on my 18th birthday, I was out. I packed my bags, and that was that. And never returned, never spoke to her again, or at least not in any lengthy conversations. Um, had to have a court case with her because she just, well, if you want that, then you have to go to court. Well, if that is what you force me into, then I have no other choice. Either way, come 2000, I said I had enough. I'm out of here. So 2000, I packed everything and just went straight to Greece. Didn't know, didn't know the language, didn't know anything, but it was the best country I could come up with. It was sunshine. It was just beautiful to go there, and so I found my my education actually very, very useful, and I looked after children out there in a small like a crash, I would say, comparatively, a crash of 12 to 30 children, depending. They were surprisingly English and German speaking. My English back then was absolutely rubbish. So what you hear right now is nothing in comparison. You can ask Tony for that. When I met him the first time, it was horrific being able to communicate properly. But that being said, so I worked in Calithea. So anybody who wants to know where Calithea is like, if you go across from Athens, there is like a 3-finger island right at the top of Greece, like the mainland Greece. Thessaloniki is right here, and you go down on the first finger, right in the middle. So every morning when I woke up for breakfast, I had dolphins come in and dolphins swim out. It was the most magical rehabilitation for me that you can imagine. I went from there about 1.5 years later to Fuerteventura, which is a Spanish island in front of Africa. It was too small. And literally, if you have never had an island collapse, that's exactly what I had. 6 months later, I had to move. It was not for me. And from there, I went to the French
So you
part
had to leave paradise?
Pardon?
I said you had to leave paradise, huh?
Yes, it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. It's a beautiful, beautiful island, but it is only for holidays. Island collapse is a real thing, and I know that now. Like, some islands are too small for me for a lengthy amount of time. I can't do that. So I had to leave 6 months later, and I went into the French part of Switzerland, all the while actually always doing the same thing, educating children in like a kindergarten setting or after school care setting, kind of that. And I was qualified for that anyway, so that was easy for me to get. Now, French part of Switzerland was a little different. I was actually working privately. I was working for 3 children. They were raised trilingual, which was interesting because I've never done that before either. So I really enjoyed that. Switzerland was amazing. It was right in front of Lake Geneva. And like, the one thing that stands out from all these travels as well for me and working in different countries is that no matter where I went, I managed to always find and be attached right in car communities. I was always around guys with cars and girls with cars. So whether that was Greece, very fascinating scene out there, even Fuerteventura, don't ask me how I managed to get in there. I didn't look for it. I just stumbled into it. And the same happened out in France, in Switzerland. And this just happened, my friends just happened to be the guys Tony came over to do a car shoot with for the magazine he worked at the point in time. And that was we are now in 2003. So I was 3 years working all over the place, somewhere else, away from Germany. That being said, by the time I had met Tony, I had actually half a year before that, I had a massive ski accident that ripped my right knee apart. So front ligament, front cross, back cross, left and right ligaments were all, no, bar one, they were ripped. The last one on the right outside was just on one string still hanging. The inner menisc just was flat out, hanging on and dangling still on one thing. And from the outer menisc, half of it broke off and was never to be seen again. So I had 2 major operations. And when I met Tony, I was just starting to walk again without crutches. So
So what you're saying is when Tony found you, he found you kind of limping around, so he was able to chase you down faster or easier.
probably. No, I have no idea how it really works. But the fascinating part for me and Tony is actually that by the time I had met him, I already had arranged for me to be on a flat land, which was England. So I actually had my papers set, everything set to be over in England from September onwards, and we met in July. So it
Okay,
was,
that's cool.
yeah. So it's
Kind of like fate.
yeah, it is, because so many people are saying to me, "Oh, you just chose to go to England because yeah, he was there." I'm like, no, 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 you don't know me well enough. I go where I choose to go. Tony has nothing to do with it. That was just fate. That was really just fate, nothing more. And I'm grateful for that, because yeah, ever since I came over in 2003, September 2003, we are literally together. That was like, yeah, two trains just joining.
Well, I know you guys have such a cool dynamic being around you guys. Just the way you guys think, and like watching Tony and watching you assist him, because you guys have just been doing it for so many years. It's like you have this motion where you don't even realize that you're doing it. You're just in tune with each other, and I found it so intriguing and fun watching you guys. And
It,
just from a couple standpoint, from a relationship standpoint, you guys always stand up for each other, and it's just, we're in a stressful industry, and you guys are especially in a stressful industry, being in the magazine industry, and to hear of, to see a couple as strong as you guys doing what you're doing, to me is just super powerful, because
we
it's
worked
just,
hard for that. It doesn't look like it. And yes, most of what we are doing now, we are doing subconsciously. I have to admit that as well. But we worked hard for that. It wasn't always that easy. Um, but you'd not, well, if you'd expected that easy, then I can tell you no. Definitely not. You're not starting out on that foot. We worked hard for it, actually, to the point as well where we had split up. We split up for a good 7 months, because we just couldn't face one another anymore. It was not that we had one another at each other's throat. Actually, this is inherently for Tony and I very differently, because both of us are actually, okay, if you are not happy, then how can I contribute better to your happiness? If that means you have to leave me, then please do. I'd rather see you happy than us constantly fight, if that makes sense. So in that respect, I think we are
mhm.
very different. That dynamic actually allowed us over those 7 months to work on ourselves, because that was purely what it was. But neither of us, again, is going. This was not like an agreed, okay, let's split. It was going south. This was not going well, and both of us could feel that. Um, and whilst literally people around us were saying to us, well, you have to split all your assets, you should get all the camera gear, you should get a car, like literally tearing us apart, it didn't feel right for us. And Tony and I, again, both of us are very much on, no matter who says what, it has to feel right to us. Don't care what you say, don't care what you think. This is me. I have to stand straight for what I'm doing. And I both of us have that kind of self-responsibility, that we say, okay, we love one another, but we have our own personalities. This is me, this is Tony. So unless we are happy within ourselves, like I am happy, I know I can't contribute to Tony's happiness, and vice versa. So it's always us first. But when we say that, often people misunderstand that entirely, and say, well, you must be incredibly selfish. It doesn't work out that way. Because if you really truly look after yourself, love yourself, put yourself first, you always make sure your own cup is full, you can give so much more than when you are constantly at each other's throat, you're working each other into the ground. You are not there for one another, and therefore you are having, pickles. I don't know, fights, whatever. All that works on your energy and it wears it down. So our first responsibility is to keep our energy up, no matter what comes. And if that doesn't work, then both of us have to drop everything and look what's going on. Because nothing, I can guarantee you, nothing works if we are not taking care of that energy. If we are not in a high energy point, that's it. Nothing works. Whether this is Tony working on designs for t-shirts or anything else, if this is me doing something for Tony and Carmen Matthews to tell the world where we are at, or things like that, it doesn't work if the mind is not there and that energy is not there. So yes, over the years that just became easier and better and more honed in. And you know what, once we have both decided, okay, now we've learned in that 7 months to actually look after ourselves, love ourselves first, then all of a sudden everything fell into place. It sounds easy, it's freaking not, because 90% of the time that we were actually trying to work ourselves out, we had to fight others off in terms of their thoughts and what we should do and their opinions. And it's like, no, leave me alone, leave me alone, leave me alone, leave me alone. I need to work this out by myself, go away. So it took really time and deep work, loads of tears. It was hard work. But once that was out of the way, the first name we had actually was Global Automotive Connection, and we both couldn't see it go anywhere. All of a sudden that flew, and that went into Superfly Autos, and it just rolled all of a sudden so much easier. And 2012 we then got married, so this is 29 to 2012 we got married. 2012, then all of a sudden we had like another mindset shift as well. Thought, hang on, what are we actually doing? We are hanging so many hours into Superfly Autos, but that many hours we are actually working in 9 to 5s. We didn't 100% click, but we thought, oh, we can make it work in between, the weekends and days off only. That in one way or another in 2014 went into Tony waking up one morning so angry. You should have seen him. It makes me laugh now. He was coming out of a dream, as it seemed, but he was so angry and saying to me, I had enough, we need to change something. By the end of this year we are out of 925. And I'm like, okay, yeah, okay, sure. How do we do that? I don't care how we do this. This will happen. Like, oh, okay, we'll make it happen. So within 6 months, it was literally like, okay, let's make this happen. And it really felt like a jump into oblivion, because we didn't exactly know where we would end up, because we don't have any family that is backing us up. I don't know.
Now, to emphasize what we're talking about here, because I know that me and you kind of go off in conversation, because I already know, but just to help the people out there that are watching, the few that probably are, we got a few. We had Laura Mason say hi, and then we had Vince wanted to ask if you thought a pig is a fruit, and I'll explain that later, because it's a funny joke that I make, because I believe this whole world's gone crazy.
Okay.
We'll get back to the story. We'll go back into that. But it's funny.
Okay.
But back into like the you and Tony connection before we get too far. But it's almost an empathetic connection, correct? Where you have empathy for each other in the good, in the bad, because you want to feel you're happy for them and you're sad for them at the same time. So when they're happy, you're happy that they're happy.
Like, Empathy versus sympathy is actually a massive thing that is it's to me, in my eyes, coming from a psychological background, obviously that's what I studied with pedagogy and so on, that has been put on world stage. Like literally, you can see it up front, right into your face. Empathy versus sympathy. It has over some time been coming up with companies more than anything else. So you have Apple company that can be very sympathetic towards you, but actually, you know what, whether you are going through that or not, the outcome has to be towards me. So sympathy is something that allows you to be still self-centered.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. That's.
yeah.
I forgot the word. Yeah.
And whilst you have then all of a sudden you had companies coming up like Gary Vee that says no, you know what, that's not, I'm not interested in just giving you sympathy, and 100% I can see that you're not well, so what can I do for you to make it better? How can I enable you to do your job better? Not for me, but for you. And that makes a huge difference. And you see that now having gone on into politics, because the politics that we are seeing right now is extremely self-centered. There's no care on what the little man on the street does. There's no care if you're tomorrow homeless or not. Nobody is asking, hey, hang on, how can we make it easier for you? What can we do that this is actually overcomable for you? This is what Sweden did. Okay, how can we tackle all of this in order to make it easier for our people? It's the same that Switzerland did.
So how do they do that?
You see sympathy versus empathy very, very large on grand stage. So Switzerland as well did look around. It's like, okay, how can we enable our people, i.e. take the fear out and help them to manage their daily life under the pressure we are under right now? Like if somebody
I get what you're saying.
If somebody would come to me and say, okay, this is going to be tough. We have to have everybody wear masks. What can we do for every one of you to make this an easier task, an overcomable task that is manageable for you? What do you need from us? I would turn around and say, okay, provide the masks. Basically, what Thailand did, they provided masks every day, several times. They said, okay, let us all online teach you how to put those masks actually on. Let us all online teach you what the benefits are, medical masks over homemade masks, and so on. Meaning they actually took care of their people. Thailand, again, has minimal cases, has minimal deaths. Do you see what I mean? It's like,
yeah, I get what you're saying. So they had the country had empathy for them. You know what I mean? And like, I never even thought of that on a country status wise. It's kind of a cool thing to think about. Like, you know, why didn't the countries go out and have them, you know, not having these, you know, not saying they had to have the masks on hand, but once they could, get them distributed out to everybody for free.
The point being is Thailand is a fairly big country just as much, and they have remote villages and they still managed. So the possibility is the same in America. It's the same in the UK. We are much smaller than Thailand either way. The point being is that there are enough studies out there starting from 2009 right into 2011. So there's a 2-year study. After that, in 2015 is another study. In 2016, there's another study, at least available for UK, where it is clearly stated that masks do not make the biggest difference in the world either way, because these viruses are actually so small that they're easily, as if you are actually having a wire fence in front of you, right through. You have to, like, even if you read the label of a mask, a medical grade mask, you see that it's 95 or 99% sufficient and good for bacteria. But bacteria is about, so much bigger than a virus is. On top of that, virus we know now as well, no matter what virus, is airborne, and it's flying for up to 30 meters before it lands or can land. It's up in the air. It's an airborne thing. So not only that, but even Fauci himself on WHO said that with masks you have the side airways where everything comes through. Even if you put that entirely on, your eyes, your ears are still letting virus into your body, because that they are opening into your body just as much. So the mask in itself really doesn't do much more than give you a full solution of being safe or keeping others safe, depending on which way you're following the math. It doesn't matter. So if you look at that, then you will know why Sweden said, no, we are not taking part in all that mask thing, because the Swedish government associated health professionals actually said there's no sufficient proof for that. It's the same in Switzerland. They say this is just a money-making scheme behind. It's not doing what we need it to do. Plus, it makes people fearful or gives them a false hope of being safe or not safe. It's not contributing to a countrywide feeling better. And that is where empathy comes in again. It's like, if you have people right at the top who are saying, look, we need all of you to actually feel good. What can we do to help you to feel good? Of course, we try to take the sharpness off what's going on out as much as possible. You don't have a rally that tells everyone in Switzerland every day, oh my God, so many more cases. Doesn't exist. It's the same in Sweden. Yes, they have their tally, but that's not national news. If you really want to know and want to follow it, you have to look it up.
Well, I think a lot of people here in the United States don't realize that over there in Europe, it's almost a battle of whether or not, they're going to follow through with it. Like, Switzerland's doing their own thing. England is on full-on lockdown. Amsterdam keeps flipping on and off, on and off. I know that Germany has gone full left, and then it's been full right, and now I believe they're back full crazy like England. Everybody, like, it's not like America where, and it's kind of like America, like, the East Coast is more hardcore, and then every city kind of does their own thing.
Yeah.
But honestly, I'm almost think if the whole world went, all right, Switzerland's doing it this way, we all do it this way, let's just do it.
Well, I think what the governments are missing in mostly the Western world right now, including Australia, I should say, is that they are actually looking over the shoulder of those countries where it works, where they are actually reducing numbers significantly. And that is in Sweden, that is in Thailand, that is in Switzerland, if you really wanted to look within Europe.
Well, I know Australia and New Zealand just opened up travel again. And, and you're going to see New Zealand has kept everybody out for this entire year.
Yeah,
they're going to start getting their first cases. I'm curious what they're going to do. You know, are they
that is
going to treat it like
exactly.
Switzerland because that's what they said they're going to do, kind of? You know, and they're just going to be like, we're going to let it happen as it happens. We're all trained on it. We all should be ready for it. But are they going to knee jerk and go back the opposite direction? Because I
It's
think a lot of people are going to look at what New Zealand's going to do, to be honest. New Zealand and
I agree
Australia.
with you. I agree with you. And I followed New Zealand very closely, and like you, I'm intrigued what's coming next for them because quite literally, there's only one of two ways. The one way is either they are entering the spiral, like America has, like Canada has, like the UK has. And by spiral, I mean, okay, kick everyone out of the country, trying to get everything back under control, then opening the country again, and then close again because we are rising cases and so on. That's the spiral. And that's like lunacy because there's no end to it. There won't be an end to that. Or are they willing enough, good enough to actually take care of everyone? Like basically, will they be at the top level empathetic leadership, meaning, okay, we help everyone, our healthcare system specifically, to get through this, enable them to the brink in everything they need to get through this, so that our people can actually develop herd immunity. And
Now,
that's the world stage of empathy and versus sympathy right now.
now, and I have a question kind of offbeat along the same lines as that. Since all this stuff has gone on, I feel like the world has become more sympathetic and less empathetic. And I'm I'll give you a short story on how I kind of learned empathy. Um, and it's a real crappy story, but because men are men, right? We always like toss each other. We joke with each other. We give each other shit, but we're really never empathetic towards each other. We'll be sympathetic, be like, oh man, that sucks, or like we're never be like,
Mm-hmm.
because we believe that being empathetic shows weakness.
Mm-hmm.
And when one of my best friends had, he killed himself, I had realized that I had only ever been sympathetic to him, that
Mm-hmm.
I had never really opened up. And this is somebody I'm calling one of my best friends in the world, and I never really opened up to him, and he never opened up to me. And he was we kind of held this wall up as men do, and I almost feel like the men mentality now that this is going on, that everybody's adapted that. This wall of I'm strong, you're weak, and we can't admit that we're all weak. We all have something going on, and just be empathetic to each other that we're all in a crappy situation and be like, all right, just everybody love on each other instead of everybody putting up walls. And I didn't know if you had seen kind of the same thing, to where it's like been this weird rotation of that guy mentality of like the strength. I can't admit weakness, and I can be sympathetic. Oh yeah, their situations suck. I'll cry at this movie, I'll be sad. I'll donate some dollars to this or that, but to feel with them and to be in, that moment,
Mm-hmm.
nah, I'm not going to do that. I got to deal with my own stuff. When at the
I
same
think,
time, if they were dealing with theirs with somebody, it's you heal, because instead of somebody, I believe when sympathy happens, that it's almost like somebody acknowledging that the problem's there. Like, oh, I admit your problem's there, and now the problem's there. Now we're in a hole. You're down here. I'm up here talking to you down in the hole. Where with empathy, you're like, it's not even admitting the problem's there. It's just going, hey, I'm here for you. Not even acknowledging the problem, and just lifting them out of the situation.
mm, there is definitely an off balance, 100%. And I said that actually from very young on, way before I met Tony as well. Because in Germany, just as much in any country, female power, going forward, need to be strong and whatever not, is it's been huge. And I can't say that I have never experienced that. You know, there is an injustice going on in workplaces over what men and women are earning comparatively in the same job. I have had that just as much. My opinion, however, and my experience from very young was always that we are going a weird way. If you have, you know, women to the front and whatnot, injustice needs to be rectified, then you have to acknowledge that if we as women are being taught incorrectly and not apparently not strong enough and whatever not, then men are not being taught correctly either when they grow up. So for me, that was always like, you cannot shout about one genre without acknowledging that the other is suffering in another way. No, you're not suffering the same way, but you're suffering in a different way. So I learned and saw very, very early on through my grandfather, through my father, through my uncles, my cousins as well, and then my studies. And that is what helped me a lot to understand, putting the understanding head on that, well, if I am as a grown-up person feeling that a girl should wear pink and the boy should wear blue, then something has gone wrong in my head already, because that girl has no association with pink and that boy has no association with blue. This is me teaching them that this is what they should be. So as much as I am teaching a girl to be empathetic, to hold back, to be helpful, I am teaching the boy at the very same token to be tough, to, you know, stand up again if he's been knocked down, whilst I'm telling to the girl, oh, let me have a look. What can we do to make it better? I'm automatically teaching empathy to the girl, and I am omitting it for the boy. So this is my fault. I'm the grown-up. For fuck's sake, if I can't admit that, how are we supposed to teach it the world? It's not there. So on the token that you are saying right now, we have gone far too far in terms of, you know, push through on equality. We have to admit that there are women and they are needed. Freaking hell, right now we need more empathy. Women need to learn empathy, and we need to teach it to our men. And that doesn't mean our men will be weak. No, show me one woman who is weak, really weak, and I mean weak. Women have a hell of a lot of strength, but that strength comes from empathy. So for goodness sake, teach empathy. Teach your men, our men. Tony, just as much, I'm having that discussion often with him, where I'm saying, whoa, could you stop bashing yourself right now? Can you hear the conversation you have? I'm the one who's saying, hello, anybody switch lights on? To tell him, you are not doing yourself any good right now. What you're doing is being too manly. Who told you that? Who taught you that you are not entitled to a hug? If that is what you need right now, I'm here. I'm here.
Well, and I love the fact that you brought up colors, because that's something, me being a painter, it's something that really annoys me, is people will consider a paisley a girly color and consider like a strong red or a strong blue or a black like a manly color. And that's something that really drives me nuts, because it's like, why is it towards white? You know, it's in the whiter family. You know, oh, it is the red with mixed with the white, and it's just going that family. And a paisley turns into a girly color, but yet a solid turns into a manly color. And it's just like, the darker it is, the more manly it is. I'm
It's
like,
perception. All of it is just perception. It's nothing more. It's what you have been taught. It's a concept you've been growing up with. And people need to realize that we have been taught from day one concept and perceptions all over. I hear so often the phrase, well, I could not do that. Now,
I hate
I
that
beg to
phrase.
differ, and I tell you why. I have had enough children at a very young age, babies. You place them from Africa, their parents spoke African, and you place them to America. What language would they speak? I wonder. English. They don't speak African, but they were born in Africa. So they have no concept of limitation, meaning they have never learned the concept, oh, I would not be able to do that. BS, quite literally. I call out on BS massively because it's a limitation. Everything you are pulling up for yourself saying, well, I never could do that, you already told yourself what you can and can't do. But who taught you that? Who taught you?
And it's all in their heads. And
It
it's
is.
because I almost believe it's because somebody else didn't want them to get better. And oh man, you hit a nail on the head with a point with me that drives me nuts about people is when you were a baby, you never thought you were shit. You
No,
know,
no,
you just straight up didn't. And it's everyone
no.
else's ideals that get into your brain, and then it makes you not want to put forth effort towards others because you're so self-concentrated around what it is that you have to be
Mm,
you to even get out of your own self box.
yeah.
And that's where
See,
I love being me is where it's like I just don't care. I just love everybody.
the
If you're
thing
one of my people, it's easier.
the thing what you just said, I've defined a long time ago as breaking generational curses, because what you are repeating is what you have been taught,
Are you
meaning
reading my
so the
notes?
person before you already has learned somewhere that they couldn't do that. So what you're actually doing is breaking a generational curse.
I swear you're like reading my notes because I've literally got generational curse, and the next thing I got on my list is millennials.
Oh gosh.
Because, well, here's my perspective on this, and I wanted to for millennials, where the people were giving them the trophies early and stuff like that. I believe we were teaching them how to love and how to care, and not care about the score at the end of the world. At the end of the day, now all those millennials have come into the workforce, right? We've taught them to recognize when love is there. And now we put them into a factory style workplace and we want them to go to work. And
Hmm.
they're like, no, they're going to reject it. And that's why they've created their own companies. They've created their own businesses because they create companies out of love. And people
Yeah.
will say, oh, no, it's just they're lazy. It's that generation. There's lazy ones in all the generations. I just believe that we showed them love. We showed them, like, and I'm not saying that giving everybody a trophy was the best idea. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying as almost an experiment as a generation, we gave them a bunch of trophies and then we wanted to put them in the actual normal workplace and we wondered why it didn't work.
There's a huge break in between what we are teaching at home, what we are teaching at schools, grammar schools, universities, and so on, and what then is going on in the workforce. There's like massive, massive differences. Um, and I have already said almost since 20 years now, the schooling system as it stands is outdated
Oh
because
God,
it
yes.
has been created within industrialization. We no longer are in industrialization. The schooling system is teaching one mindset and they're expecting in the workforce something entirely different. There's bound to be a difference. Now we are trying to negotiate that by doing exactly what you just said, bringing more love into the schooling system. But later, when it comes to college and university, that no longer works because it goes right back into the industrialization, and then we're making a huge U-turn again and bringing it back to where we need them to be. Like I recently heard Gary Vaynerchuk saying a couple of years ago he would have asked for somebody in his company who can create like D-Rock style videos and write texts and write good copy together like a duo. And that was perfect for that time. But within only 3 years, he now actually requires somebody, and there's no description for either of those jobs yet. Not for what he required 3 years ago and not for what he is requiring right now. Right now, he would require somebody who actually can look at posts, comments, and read in between the lines of the comments what the need of the people actually is to feed back to him.
And that's nearly impossible.
It
Finding
is,
that 1 in a million person.
but do you know what you need for that is empathy.
Oh yeah.
What you really need for that is empathy, because only if you are able to ask the question, what is the need for everyone to feel better, what is the learning requirement for everyone to uplift and get out of the misery they're in right now? How can I make it easier? What is needed to be said to hit the nail on the head in that specific context? And that is actually what I am doing for Superfly, believe it or not. I am the one who is reading in between the lines. I am the one who is actually, if ever we get some feedback from somebody around the world where we have provided photos and it doesn't come back, and I have done that from day one, it hasn't come back like straight out in our favor. I am the one who is reading in between the lines and says, okay, this is what is needed, this is what is needed, this is what is needed. And I am the one who is then talking with Tony instead of, oh my God, we've gone totally wrong and it's a failure and whatnot. I'm the one who's then, talking straight into the line of, okay, so if we are, instead of doing this, we are providing this and this and this, can you ask if that is on the flip side what he's really looking for or she's looking for? And 99.9% when that happens, it's like, oh my God, you are such gems. Thank you very much. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Can we do that? Of course we can. All it is a lack of communication, meaning a bond you build, and that comes from empathy. And that is what our millennials we are teaching them the onset of it, but not the finishing point. So they're kind of in limbo and like, what the fuck am I doing? Sorry, I know Tony always laughs when I'm swearing because he's not used to me swearing. So when I'm swearing, I really mean it. What the fuck are we doing? Really, what are we doing? And it pissed me off 20 years ago. It still pisses me off that nobody came up with a better system. I mean, in Germany, when I was in the position to teach children, I actually went in and said, you know what? That whole system that we are running right now, 30 children in one class, 3 teachers more or less in it, and we are sitting on top of one another for 8 hours, and yeah, we are basically entertaining. I'm not here to entertain. That's not my job. So how can we make this better? And I flipped the whole thing on its head. Not that what my teachers were happy about it. They told me to basically fit back into line. But my colleagues who worked with me at the time, they said, oh my God, your idea, we're gonna so try this out. And we give it 3 months until we see if it works or if it doesn't. And the whole way we changed it over was that we opened the whole place up. Like we had 3 groups. That means 60, about 70 children, 80 children, in between the age of 3 to 7, preschoolers basically. And we had all the rooms that we had. We made one a full-on painting room where you had anything and everything you could have to create. Another where was a workbench room. Our parents were like, whoa, you can't give them nails, hammer. And I'm like, there you go. we get this, we will do this. So I just kicked all the parents out because it was the parents who got scared. The kids never got scared. We had not one accident. So all of a sudden, it facilitated everyone who was working there. We enjoyed ourselves all of a sudden so much more. The children were all of a sudden really picking the person they knew they would help them in whatever they required, rather than having to stick with the one person they have in their group right now. Everything worked so much smoother, going from rigid to open.
Now I've got a question for you that you're kind of leading in here, leading right into with those kids. Since you were showing them empathy, did you find that you were trusting them more because of the empathy? Because
That was,
those,
oh my God, yes, that was such a huge thing, trust, because obviously the parents were not trusting 100%, and very, very quickly we as educators noticed very, very quickly, actually, who are we educating, the parents or the kids? So actually we had to take on a hell of a lot of education for the parents around that as well. But we noticed also that there's a lack of trust within ourselves on certain notes. Like, for example, one colleague of mine, she just had no trust when it came to the children climbing anything. So as soon as we figured this out, I said to her, you know what? Let's do one thing. Unless you can shut up and let them do as they want, do not come anywhere near. Like, stay away. I'll take over. No trouble. Because I have had so many sports. I've done so many sports as a child. I have had enormous body confidence in terms of my flexibility and my abilities. And that is what I wanted to strengthen in the children around me as well. So whenever that was the case, all I could hear my colleague Natalie shouting, Carmen, literally going into a high pitch, like, okay, I'm definitely needed where she is. And then I could see like a child crawling up, the wires, or the the I don't know, all the toys around in the playground outside. And I just swapped places with her until she was actually able, so she eased herself into it. But again, this is something, you notice that this is actually a lack within you. That is what you're teaching. And instead of teaching that lack, you let somebody else take over. So this is like a trust rota, and you're learning so much with that as well, because you are actually, as a grown-up, you are very quickly able to mimic that person who is radiating that trust, that what you want to pass to the children as well. And so we learned from one another so much within the space of 6 months. It was incredible. So this was really like a stack up of trust and trust and trust, and we were thriving, not only as a team, but the parents were thriving, the children were thriving. It was immense. It was really impressive what we had as feedback.
now here's a question I have for you now with that. Since it works so well, because that was person on person. Now that we're in this digital place with this digital world, with the kids being completely digital and everybody else being completely digital, I know there's a way you can put empathy into things, but I honestly, so many people go to text and so many people go to emojis, and I honestly feel emojis can show a little bit of empathy at the same time as sympathy, but I almost feel like text has more of a sympathy feel to it and stuff like that. It's you. I
By
almost feel like this
design,
world it's almost being trained to become more sympathetic and less empathetic.
yes.
What do you think as a world community, like other than like stuff like what we're doing and trying to do here, can we do to try and promote more empathy,
Well,
between people?
I think the first hand promotion needs to start at home. And you know what? For that, the lockdowns were impressively good, because for the first time, children have a chance, provided the parents can do it, to learn empathy in a different way than they have had before. Now, the only thing that it really doesn't promote much is trust, because the government doesn't put any trust into, meeting with one another or things like that. So it needs to be all done with care. But with all due respect, I think quite literally, it is your responsibility to reach out to people, to bring up that empathy, to put in the work. And if work is made hard, then you just work as much as you can. You work that much harder in order to get to what makes you feel good, because that is why we are here. Every single one of us does not want anything else but feel good. And the question then would not be, oh my God, this all just goes all worse. It's like, no, the question is, how can this get even better and even better the next day? And how can I make myself feel even better than I felt today? What can I do tomorrow to make myself feel even better? It's literally the opposite of what you're doing is truth. You are not here to make yourself feel negative, fearful, low on the ground, and oh my God, just pull the blanket over my head and never let me out again. Your task is to actually turn around and say, okay, I'm reorientating myself. I'm going to look over there. There's beautiful, beautiful park over there. I'm going to go and have a walk. And if that makes you already feel better, then that's brilliant. So you're asking yourself, what can I do tomorrow to make myself feel even better? If that means you are having no access to your phone for a whole day, then that is what you do. You sit down and read. You know what? For the first time in a long time, I actually sat down whole days at the moment to read. And that's not even a book that I would consider hugely valuable. No, it's simply books where I can laugh, where I can think of something else than wearing a mask. As simple
So
as that.
a friend of mine, he well, actually used to be a therapist that I used to go to. Um, he has the most unique perspectives on things, and he said COVID's been one of the best things for the world, because he goes, when it's over, he goes, people are going to realize who they are. And
100%, and I agree.
he goes, they've been locked in with themselves, they've had to deal with themselves,
Yeah,
and they're starting to treat themselves better. They're starting to really focus in on themselves. He goes, about 50% of the population's done that, and he goes, the other 50% is tuned out, tuned into the TV, and just checked out. He goes, you're really going to have a class system when this stuff comes out, because you're going to have your people that are driven, that are
yeah.
pushing, that were ready on the springboard for when it launched out, and then when everybody got free, you're going to have the people that are just under them.
But I feel like, specifically Tony and I for Superfly, over the last 5 years, we were only traveling. We had nothing in terms of fixed apart from our suitcases, our laptops, and our phones. That's our possessions. There's no house, no anything as such. That kind of change on a constant basis really trained us for what we are going through right now. Because right now, and I said that to a friend of ours only the other day, right now the world is so fast paced, you do not know what tomorrow brings. It's like you're looking for some kind of stability, but unless you found that stability within yourself and you're stable enough that change is brilliant, bring on the change, I'll find my opportunities within that change. And that change brings perfect and beautiful and brilliant opportunities if you're open enough to actually accept them and take them. But those 5 years, we see it as we have trained for this situation right now. It's like, change is brilliant, bring it on. So I'm with your friend there, and possibly that is why so many friends of mine are coming as well to me saying, Carmen, I don't know how you do it, can you help me? And I am helping, I'm here.
See, that's where I've been, and you know me, I kind of struggle, and I don't mind putting it out on the socials, because I believe that your friends are the people that are there to help you through all this. There's people that have been in low
100%.
places and people that have been in high places, And I know some people talk trash to me about that. Oh, I can't believe you put that out there. People are going to think you're crazy. It's all right. I don't care. They're my
It's
friends. If
not
my
your
friends think
problem.
I'm crazy, then that's my friends. And that's all I
It's
care about. And it doesn't matter who thinks I'm crazy. It's what I do at the end of the day. I'm reaching out to friends to feel better, to have people tell me stories about when they were hurting and to help me with their knowledge. And I love that. I
but
love that we have a community that you could do that. You
what
know?
I feel like I love your way in putting things just out, like that's where I am at right now, like it or not. And I love the fact that in the back of your mind already you know I don't really care what you think about that, but I care that you come back and actually communicate with me. And that's a huge difference to make in one element. But the other thing I wanted to say as well was that actually we we think that somebody who is strong automatically is strong all the time, that somebody who is positive all the time. Well, they have it easy because they are always positive. No, not at all. I have my rock bottoms. Tony has his rock bottoms. You have your rock bottoms. And that comes and goes. What the big acknowledgement there is actually they come and they go. My aunt, who died late last year of cancer, bless her, I loved her so much. She taught me something incredibly valuable. Um, she always said, it is okay to be rock bottom. It's okay to turn around and look at the stars. But essentially, it's up to you to decide for how long you want to stay there. And that's really it. It is up to you for how long you want to stay there. And if you're truthful to yourself,
Yeah.
sometimes it feels good to stay there just for a little bit longer. Now, the difference is, do you complain about being down there? Because if you do, then please know it's up to you to take yourself out. But if you enjoy being down there, admit that this is where you want to be right now. Because you can still learn whilst you're rock bottom, and you learn a hell of a lot, I have to say that. But the first step to all of that, healing that, is accepting that it is there. And that's fine.
So with my mental health, I always feel like I'm at the bottom of a canyon and I'm climbing my way out. And I'm never going to fall all the way to the bottom because there's a slight slant. I just
Mhm.
slide down a couple 100 feet, you know. And sometimes I fall further than, I'd like. And but your friends are the ones that are there to help catch you, you know.
100%.
Because, like, oh, go ahead.
I've been a rock climber for before I had my ski accident. Um, and as much as I did love free climbing, and I did free climb over open water mostly, um, when you climb, you always have at least one partner who's climbing with you, who has your back. And that is how I see life in many, many ways. You do what you can with the energy you have. You get better over time, but there's no denying that you will fall. You will fall, but you have to trust those people that are behind you, those friends that are climbing with you on the same path, that they hold you. And that's really all there is to it. You will fall. It's all good. It's just like death is part of life. You cannot deny that death is there, and it will come at some point or another. It's one thing I had to learn very, very quickly in life, that because my grandfather died when I was 12, my father died when I was 15, on the way to 16. And my dad was only 40 years old. He wasn't ill. He had no accident. He just simply died. And that wasn't a heart attack or anything either. It was just, um, it's like when a baby dies in their bed, it's like cot death. It's what it's called here. But the heart just simply stopped. That's it. No injury to it. And he was 40 years old.
See, and
So, when I
You keep
turned
saying
40.
40. I turned 40 this year. You're trying to freak me
I
out now.
know, but that is what freaked me out. When I'm 45. When I turned 40, 39 to 40, I went haywire. My mind was not right. To me, my dad achieved so much in life. I all of a sudden felt out of depth. I felt I've achieved nothing compared to him. I lost literally the ground under my feet over that period in time. And then also right thereafter it's like, and now I'm having more time than my dad ever had. What am I gonna, like, literally what came then? What am I doing with that time? How am I filling that time? Time all of a sudden becomes a different concept. And it's important that you acknowledge that this is there, because without that acknowledgement, you are living fear and a lie. And this is not a way to be, not in my mind anyway.
Oh yeah, that's truth. Such you speak truth. And it's I don't know. I don't know. I don't worry about. I used to worry about death a lot, but to me, I worry about living my life now. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Because to me, like if I worry about death, then I'm already on the back foot.
mm,
You know what I mean? And it's
mm-hmm,
like I have these dreams and these pursuits that I want to push so far and so hard and be able to go other ways. So if I start thinking about death, it honestly puts me on a back foot to where I'm almost like 10% out of the game. So,
mm.
and that's where I need to start thinking about myself. My wife yells at me all the time. So I need to stop thinking like that because my health is a giant portion of who I am and everything like that. I mean, I just realized the other day I'm almost up to like 400 pounds.
Mm.
Like I'm tapping at that number. That's giant. That's huge. I'm two people. I need to eliminate a dude. You know,
Kill one, keep the other.
and it's time to cut back and slim down and start caring about me at the same time, and instead of pushing stuff out in the world so much and trying to push, 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 and internalize a little bit. And it's like I'm almost looking that I've never even given myself empathy.
And that's a huge deal. It's like you expect something around you to happen, but for as long as you're not giving it to yourself, you're not having it. It's like if you do not have a good relationship with yourself, you won't have any good relationships outside, and you will feel it, you will see it. Um, the same is if you don't love yourself, you won't find love as such. It's like there are symbiotic relationships where, they just work, but there's no love involved. That is, what can happen just as
Oh,
much.
see, I'm completely conceited. I love myself like nobody's business.
Well,
You
and
know.
that's good. And but that is why you have a loving relationship as well. When Tony and I met you with your wife, that's what we said, both of us, straight out. It's we were impressed how loving, but then again, we are loving each other as well, and so we are inviting other people into our lives that have loving relationships just as much. So literally, from our point of view, all we see is, well, yeah, there are relationships that function very well, that last extremely long, where people love one another and have each other's back all the time. And yet, here and there, we are coming across people online that say, oh, that is fantasy, doesn't exist. I'm like, yeah, it does. So, this again, this is perspective. It's what you believe, and that belief system is usually so far back in the back of your mind that you do not automatically recognize the difference in between what you're thinking about actively and you're aware of it, but what your subconscious programming actually is. So once you gain that awareness, that difference can be bridged. And it's actually it's the same thing with health. It's like I personally was extremely unhealthy just up to until 5 years ago. Like in 2009 and 2008, I was diagnosed with deep vein thrombosis, DVT, and I was actually on a chair hooked up to a heart monitor to monitor the blood clots that they found, 7 of them, going through my heart before I was released again. It was not fun for me to sit there feeling the heart, beat stop just for 1 beat or 2 beats in between. It makes you nauseous. It really does. And as a result of that, being told, oh, it looks like that is inherited, and therefore, well, you just might as well make do with having to take tablets for the rest of your life. And then 2 years later down the line, I was told, oh, you know what, you've got diabetes. And then just a year thereafter, I was told, oh, you know what, you have an underfunctioning thyroid. And I'm like, F all of you. Okay, I acknowledge that medication is there as a failsafe for me not to drop out entirely, but as a result of that, my mind was ticking, how can I reverse this? This is my life. I need to take control of this. Somehow, my mind is effing with me, and my subconscious wiring is not going in the right direction. I need to change this. So I started to read a hell of a lot, read and educate myself. So I started to take for the diabetes or insulin resistance, chromium, which is natural. It is actually fully purchasable online on Amazon for very little, and it is done and made by nature to help you adjust your insulin. Just as an example, I changed everything that I did internally to help myself getting away from the DVT, the vein thrombosis. And I'm not taking any tablets for anything anymore. And medics are actually wondering how come that what we told you is inherited, meaning there's no way out. You don't have anything. You don't even show any your body doesn't show any acknowledgement that it was there. So
See,
yeah, go for it.
yeah, and see, I've been going through the same things with like the Eliquis and the DVTs, and that stuff is scary.
It is. It's not fun, and I know, but the fact is that nature has, mainly for DVT as well, offsets. The point being is that you have to change what you eat and the way how you eat. Now that's not fun either, because your mind is trained to eat certain things, and the chemicals in your body as they stand will always demand and fall back and say, okay, I fancy a burger right now. But essentially what your body is telling you, it's not necessarily that you fancy the burger or the meat, but you're fancying, inverted commas, what your body is telling you, I need something very specific that is a biochemical that needs to do this, and that is what I'm lacking. And once you understand what that biochemical is your body is after, you actually can replace it. Now, if you ask me, because right now Tony and I are vegan, we are eating vegan. If you ask me, okay, so tomorrow I start a vegan diet and I feel better, I'm saying, hell no. Really no. Do not. Because there is nothing healthy in changing, forcing your body from one specific diet into another. There's no benefit in it either. The path we took, Tony and I, was just slowly but surely, going more and more and more into veganism. That was an almost 3-year process.
And slowly stepping your way through it. And it's
and that was never in our minds the end result that we wanted to achieve. We just got there more and more by taking care of more and more and more what our bodies asked for and needed. That's just where we landed.
And see, I could never see myself as a vegan. I saw what you guys were eating the one day, and I was like, and then I tasted it, and it was delicious. I was like, man, it was good. But it's like I love meat. Like,
You know, every meat eater, and there was a time when Tony and I always said as well, you know what, I would never want to live without salmon, or never want to live without chicken, or never want to live without burger. And yet,
I don't think I could go without fish.
well, yeah, that was the same for me. Or even cheese. My goodness, ask Tony. I was such a little mouse when it came to cheese. Give me any cheese. I don't need a dessert. I will have cheese gladly any day.
I didn't realize you didn't eat cheese. That's
No. And the point in that is when you realize that actually cheese makes it has the same capacities to make you addicted to it.
oh, but it's
So
so delicious.
it is, but it's only delicious because it gives you your brain the same signals as you actually snorting cocaine. That's all.
I'm okay with that. It's
I
really good.
know, I know. But once
I've never
you
thought of
play,
cheese like cocaine, which makes it even better.
it's true though. People will laugh and say, no, that's not true. It's true. There is cheese addiction. It, and you can read it up online. It's scientifically proven.
Oh,
I'm not
I love
lying.
Europe for the cheeses. Like to me, it's crazy to think
No.
that. Like I knew you guys didn't eat meat, but like I didn't know
No,
you didn't eat the
no,
cheese.
honey, no, nothing. No, no, no eggs. And
I,
you know the funny part for that as well is like like you, I was constantly coughing. I was constantly trying to get something off my chest. As soon as I dropped out from milk and cheese, nothing. I was like gone.
no, I can't give up cheese. That would be
Trust
like
me.
although lately I've actually been talking about because I've been joking about moving to Amsterdam, and you know how cars are not a big thing in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
But that's one of the most places I feel like I'm at home. You know.
It you know once you have to imagine it like a domino stones. You're making the whole round in your domino, snake, whatever, house, build a house, do anything. And that is what you do with your body's chemistry. You're building, and everything you're putting in is another domino stone, and so on. Of course, right now you're saying, whoa, no, if I'm taking that domino stone out, that's not going to work for me. But if you are starting with taking this domino stone out and this domino stone out, and then you take that one out and that one out and that one out, and replace it with other ones, you're actually building a new pattern with your domino stones. And then all of a sudden you have that one stone over there that stands entirely on its own, and you're like, why am I doing this? What's that stone for? Oh yeah, you know what? I'm taking that stone out and I'm putting it over there, I'm replacing it with another stone. This is not a prohibitive concept. What you're actually doing, the way Tony and I did, is a natural replacement process that helps your body to become healthier. Like I've spoken only today to somebody who said, oh, I have zero immune system. I'm like, okay, so what you gonna do? Well, I can't replace it. Like, yes, you can, but it's a lot of work involved. There is no two ways about it. I think the best book to kick off a hell of a lot for me mentally that I ever read, and I'm saying a little bit more to that, is it's by a guy called Professor Arnold Ehret. Ehret is written Ehret. He's German, was German, I should say. Somewhere the book was written somewhere in the 1920s, pre-Hitler era, and it's called Mucusless Diet. And when I started reading the book, I actually had to put it away several times. I never got past 2 or 3 pages because there was so much information where I was like, oh my God, okay, now that makes sense. Wow, really? And I had to process so much in terms of what I was taught, as well as the anger I had towards my parents, because my mum insisted I had yogurt. Although my aunt, her younger sister, was a chef back then already, and obviously a dietitian in that respect as well, because that comes as a package deal in Germany, told her that looking at me and the way I reacted to milk, it doesn't do me any good. So she told her that already back then. But back then, my mother was like, nope. Every single output health practitioner is telling me this child needs milk, I will give her milk. I had to get over that anger in the first place, that I was given something that was clear from day one to somebody else, that it doesn't do me any good, that it actually has health implications, because as a child I had massive bronchitis, like on the go for sometimes 6 months, to the point where I had to go away to the seaside by myself as a 6-year-old to get better via sea air.
Taking vacations to the beach.
Yes, on my own at 6 years old. Yes, I did that. And I was actually happy and proud about it. I was, you know.
So then I have a theory. We'll get back to the pig as a fruit thing.
Yeah, go for it. I'm intrigued by that.
So I have a theory, because the rest of the world's gone crazy. I'll probably get a bunch of backlash for this, but you know how people will be like, well, I relate to a 68-year-old woman, you know, some 18-year-old boy, or you know how they think there's more than 2 genders and everything else like that. And the whole world's gone a little kooky. I've decided to go completely kooky and declare that a pig is a fruit. And my theory is that it's a roving plant. It's got roving stalks. It grows up in dirt. It eats everything. You eat every part of it. When you bite into it, it's juicy. It makes about as much sense, I thought.
Okay.
You know, because you eat the skin, you eat the flesh of it. You know, like it's so you guys could actually technically have bacon now.
No. 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 It's still a sentient being. Therefore, it's a living being.
But isn't a plant though? But a plant is.
No,
a plant's a living being.
It is a living being, but it has no conscious. So it's not.
But I had a plant named Bob, and I can verify this. He's a fern that I used to play music for. They used to grow a lot more when he had music played, and you would talk to him. And when I would disappear for a couple months, he would not grow. So he was sentient.
But he has no self-awareness of himself. So that's actually the difference. That's why, yes.
I have people working for me that have no self-awareness for themselves, and I'm pretty sure they're not a plant.
No, that's not dividing.
You haven't met Scott.
No, I haven't. But
he is not self-aware at all.
I think as soon as you have a brain, you are to an extent self-aware.
Well, see, now you throw the brain in there. That's the only technical thing, but we don't know if plants have brains or not. It could be in the root ball.
We do. That's the only thing we really do. That
so you're saying logic, actual confirmed logic, beats nonsense.
Yeah, you know, critical thinking is somewhat an advantage.
I'll believe you, but I'm still going to claim that it's a fruit.
That's fair enough. In this today's world, I believe you almost anything.
Because I completely do agree that a pig is not a fruit, but I just like to say it because it's really funny. Because when people ask me, and then I can explain that the rest of the world's just jacked up and I'm joining the team.
And I think you are actually joining them in a very interesting way. Makes at least for interesting discussion.
Well, exactly. I figure like, you throw it on a shirt or something, it becomes more of a topic to talk about the world conflicts and about
Yeah,
where the world's at instead of like an actual pig being a fruit, because we all know that's a nonsense saying.
it is. But you know what? It would be amazing to have that on the front of a t-shirt and then on the back, ask me about it.
Ooh, good thinking, actually.
There you go. It's my contribution to it.
Well, it's one of those things where it's not like I want to. I like saying things that like to make people think, that make them go, that can't be true. Why would they even say that?
Yes.
Where you can say nonsense and it's just like, oh, that's just nonsense. But if you say something so nonsensical that people are like, where would you even get a grip on that from any reality? And
Yeah.
that's exactly like, well, exactly. I didn't. There is no reality.
Is it? Yeah, no, and we are very close to exactly that, where we are simply making up absolute garbage, where we are making up garbage. You know, in many ways, I do appreciate that I accept people for who they are and who they believe they are at any given point in time. I will never argue with you. If you want to identify with being a giraffe, then you are a giraffe. I really do not care. For as long as it makes you happy, I do not care. Um, Now, I'm not saying I do not care in the sense of you're not worth it to me for me not to care, but for my where I'm coming from is for as long as it is you who are happy, who is happy, I should say, and you can go with that thought process. This is what makes sense to you. Then this is you, and you need to stick to that. Fine. My handicap in that is that your biology by design gives you a definition whether you can bear children or not.
Oh, yes. And
So
I totally agree. And like where people get into the word about gender and you can break it down into the actual words, it's just people are going to do who they want to be. I'm not going to judge them.
100% no. There's just one disconnecting point for me, that by design we only have two sexes and you are either this or that. Now, yes, you can have certain operations, but biologically that won't make a difference. It will help you to feel the other side, or not necessarily feel, but express what you want to express more. And I have my own whole psychological, philosophical theory behind all that, but that would be another 3 hours to get into, as to where all that confusion is coming from right now. And I'm not necessarily wanting to say confusion is just simply another energetical expression of who you really are. But in the end of the day, it's really tough to argue with biology. And one small element of that biology will always be with you, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. That's up to you. And nobody can argue with what you want to do with that. That's up to you. But the end all and be all of anything in any discussion, and I specifically use the word discussion rather than argument, because there's nothing to argue about, is that you need to be happy. And that's it.
Yep.
There's nothing I can say, nothing you can say, nothing who can say anything else. I'm fully accepting in whatever you want to express. I'm helping you, whatever that is. So, I think a little bit more empathy in that realm, and from the other direction, because obviously there's a lot of mistrust. Trust, then people can accept you exactly in the manner you want to be accepted in. That is needed.
Well, I think conversations like we had today, where we
Mm.
can you openly talk about empathy and openly talk about growing about with empathy and stuff like that helps other people identify with it and helps people understand more about the word. because I was one
Yeah.
of those people that was completely ignorant to not even understand that there was a difference. I thought when you felt bad for somebody because that was your sympathy, that being sympathetic was good enough. That's all you had to do. I always thought that it was a woman's role to be the empathetic one, and that it was a man's role to just be, you
Hmm.
know, you're a man and you stand next to him and you do man things and the empathy is implied.
Yeah, I think this is what we were taught though, BJ. Is like you just as much as me, as much as Tony, as anyone on this planet has been taught a specific way. And the gender roles and the thinking around it has been taught. It's not what comes out naturally. On the contrary, actually, I have never met a little boy who's not empathetic. I've just not. It's the parents or the teachings in themselves that prohibit that expression to come out or to develop, I should say, because it's there. It is there. It's like when I studied, there was one sentence that comes actually out of Montessori as well. She said, a child is born with 99 languages and 100 languages, and 99 are taken away with the first word spoken by the parents. Meaning, translating into, you have every single capacity to be anything on
Anything's
this
possible.
planet, anything, and it's been removed by way of how you've been taught. So, as a grown up, if you want to take self-responsibility, then your first responsibility is to actually unlearn everything that never suited you, unlearn everything that ever blocked you, unlearn everything that never made you happy, and replace it and relearn in different manners everything that you can see is in your future. And that is where it's so important for me and Tony actually to keep focused on your own vision. And that's why we are sticking to Superfly Autos no matter what, no matter how little or much money we are getting in at the moment or at any given point in time. Don't care. It will work because we stick with that vision, because that is what makes us happy. And we both know we are creative enough to tweak it and push it and get it just so it works again.
Well, and that's what
But
I
it
love
needs to
about you
work.
guys, is that I've watched you guys. I've seen you guys evolve over the years, like in the beginning till now, seeing how you guys make it through COVID
Yeah.
and, like keeping all the stuff that you guys have had. I've seen so many other photographers and stuff have so much trouble during this time because they didn't
Mm.
have the giant stockpile you guys have. And seen a lot of people like you guys are you're a very unique team, and I'm excited to see you guys proceed in the future because it's so fun watching you guys grow and watching you. I'm excited about when COVID's over and we can go to a car show again, and
Oh
I can
man,
watch
yeah.
Tony do his thing and get in his little groove and watch him just go around, and it's, and I look forward to the future at the same time as like watching how we all cope through all of this as we go. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think we've all grown in different ways as this is going on because we've
Yeah.
all had our revenue streams definitely cut in giant chunks.
Well, if you consider that the base foundation for Tony and I on Superfly Autos pre-COVID was traveling, going to shows, meaning meeting people face to face, having business conversations where we, can get into the nitty-gritty payment and so on as well. And this is how we got our contracts in as well. And did photo shoots on one-to-one basis whenever somebody ordered something from us in terms of a photo series and things like that. That's how we made money. Now, all of this can't travel, have no shows, at least not in Europe. There's not one show that has gone down. Um, and for all intents and purposes, we can't travel to America or anywhere anyway to go to a show. And we can't travel to actually photograph a car here, there, or anywhere, even within our country right now. So we can't sell any photography. So literally everything that brought us money so far had to flip on its head. Now, did we panic? Yeah, of course. In the beginning we did. Fucking hell, what do we do now? But if there's one thing to be said in between Tony and I, we are always open to ideas. And for as long as we keep calm and happy, ideas just flow in for us. And that's the one thing we really, really had to learn the hard way, because we had our panic, we had our anxiety attacks, we had our flat out depressions. We learned from that, doesn't work. So how do we get around it? And this is like any other learning curve, is you have to acknowledge depression is there. And you know what? It is valid. At that point in time when you're in a depression, it is valid. It's there. You need help and you need to reach out. You need to communicate. And that's exactly what we had done. Because even when we both are in a depression, we can't help each other. We have to help ourselves first again. So that's exactly what we had to do. So coming round from that, we have learned from that point onward, whoa, hang on, no anxiety, no overthinking. What do we do? Okay, if that means, you know what, drop everything. Today we are going out and we are walking the whole day and we are just talking about it. Then that's what we do. But that is to clear our mind, to get a clarity in terms of where we want to go, to get a vision in where we can shift it. And then things are rolling again. That's how the idea came up for us, for our coffee call for Superfly. That's how it came up for us. Okay, let's finally move forward in getting to get together with more of our diecast modelers, the 1/64 scale. Talk to them. You know what? Mentally connect with all of them via screen and say, okay, today we are visiting BJ's garage over in Kansas. Let's have a look what he's doing. The garages are not gone. They need that platform. You need that platform to thrive still. And we have the people. The people still want to see it. You need to bridge it. So that was the idea behind that. But it had to come. And for as long as you panic, that idea won't come.
And that's kind of where I had the idea for this, is like, for me, I wanted to be able to talk to my friends about how they've gotten to where they're at, and like stuff they've been through, the trials and tribulations, how they're getting through these times. And for me, it's like a fun way. I get to call a friend, talk to them for a couple hours during the week, and check in with them, and and check in with their point of view and grow myself, you know what I mean? And grow in empathy. And I don't know, I've found like all these, like the live calls, to be so imperative to what I'm doing at the moment. You know what I mean? It's not just to help me. I'm hoping that somebody out there is also listening, and even if they listen to like 5-10 minutes, they picked up something that'll help them, or and
Yeah,
it's like, I believe that we can make a change.
definitely.
Yeah.
I do believe that, long form content, longer, conversations, just like what you are doing, what we are doing right now, is needed because, like you said, people are locked up, all of us. It's not only one or two countries. It's like literally the whole world is somewhere locked up. There are very few countries in between that are not quite following that system. But that being said, for as long as the rest of the world is not back out, they won't benefit much of that either. So this is what is needed right now. People need to hear other people's opinions. So I'm very opposed in people constantly putting a damper on and saying, no, that's not right. It's not right. No, hear people out. Listen. It may not be your opinion, but listen, discuss. you're not here to start arguments. I'm not here to start arguments. We just express our opinions. Now, other people may join or say, you know what, I'm slightly opposed to that. How did you get to your opinion? How did you end up there? What got you there? Is that all out of conspiracy, or is there actually any facts to that? I appreciate that question. I don't take that offensive. I am actually saying, oh, wow, yes, this is how I got to where I'm standing. This is how I ended up here. And you know what? When I have these conversations, literally, I had not one person who came back to me and said, you know, you're a total lunatic. I'm not wanting to talk to you ever again.
But at the
It's
same
only,
time, being able to put yourself in their shoes to ask them that question, that's
yes,
having great empathy.
yes, and that's true.
And it's the
It's
same thing.
exactly that.
I'm realizing that I actually love the same thing because I love to get other people's perspectives on things. Because I know that yes, I have a really high IQ, but I know I'm not the smartest person in the room. You know, there's so many other people around you that are so much smarter than you that you can learn so much from. And it's so intriguing to get their perspective and add it to your perspective and not form your opinion and just to sit there and keep forming your opinion.
The point with opinion is that my opinion will never match anybody else's, and neither will your opinion. An opinion is a design that only suits you, and it's born out of your perspective, out of your capacity of thinking of things.
I love the word you just said there, right there. Opinion is exactly that. It is perspective. It is the way you view things. And that's what I love
Absolutely.
to find out is I love to see from your view with your skew, how do you see it? You know, and I see it from this way. How can
Mhm.
we see it the same way? And that's finding another perspective that's in between those two.
100%, and I think that is what is needed. It's like, you know, one benefit I had with my grandparents is like, when I was for lengthy amount of time brought up by my grandparents. Both grew up in Hitler Germany, Nazi Germany. So one of the first things my grandfather always said is, think for yourself. Think for yourself. Don't accept anything from anyone. Question. So when it came to sitting at our table with the whole of the family, which I really enjoyed as a youngster, yes, and there was no topic that was off limit. No topic. I've heard at our table, I've heard everything being discussed, and everything openly being discussed, in front of the children as well. And like literally, I had never anyone in my family match 100% the other opinion, and that's one family. But not once have they ripped each other's head off for it. Not once. Aside from my mother, but she's a narcissist. That's an entirely different subject. That was just her whole passion, ripping everyone else apart, so she could be right. She was just very much put to the side. She was
Narcissistic.
not taken, yeah, she was not taken serious in conversations, in discussions. So I find even that I found as a youngster very interesting to watch. Is like that another person's words, it's your responsibility to take them to heart or not. It's your responsibility. Words only ever can hurt you if you let them hurt you. So even that little thing, that little learning curve, I only had because I had that large group of people of 12 grown-ups plus 3, 4, 5 children, depending on what stage. I'm the oldest one, so I enjoyed a little bit of really adult talk as a youngster amidst everything. But I enjoyed learning that via simply listening, nothing more, sitting in. And I was told so many times by my grandfather, Carmen, if it's too much, you can go play. I was like, no, I want to hear this. I want to sit here. I want to take that in. And there were too many times where I actually fell asleep on the sofa behind my grandfather, and they still were discussing about everything. This is what's right now an opening, an opportunity again to have a household sit at one table and discuss,
Yep.
and not point blank
And
go
be
at
able to,
each other's throats for
and
having an opinion.
and be able to have the family time again, you know what I mean? And share around
Yeah,
and talk and everything like that. And it's, I don't know, I've seen a lot of people grow in this time, and I've seen a lot of people like tear themselves down and break themselves down. So it's a real intriguing time in the world, to be completely honest. Because
yeah,
you have
no,
people that are going to grab it and are going to be like, all right, I know we're in a crappy situation, but I'm still going to try and thrive. I'm still going to try and grow. I'm not going
yeah,
to let the situation keep me down. There's so many people, I know you probably get it, you and Tony probably get it too, that think we're absolutely insane for still trying to push during this time. They're like, oh, like your fundings have been cut down, this have been cut down, everything's going this way. And you've got so many people, the naysayers and the people that are just on your back about whatever,
yeah.
and you still just keep pushing.
Well, what other choice do you have? Really?
Exactly.
What other choice do you have?
Yep.
You either can make the best of it and be grateful for what you have, or you might as well just find a grave and bury yourself.
Or
You
accept
know,
that if you have the people that just want to accept the end of it and just get the 9 to 5 job and be unhappy and just accept the unhappy and the level of the unhappiness. And it's like, I'm just never going to settle. I'd rather have feast or famine, you know,
yeah, yeah.
but it's
No,
almost the journey that means more to me though, than anything. The
and you
fight
know
that
what?
it's taken.
That is what empathy is about. Because I personally feel we are on almost a verge of where empathy and sympathy is going out of the money system. The money system as it stands, the money economy as it stands, stroke economy, is very sympathetic. It's really in a straight, streamlined, sympathetic way, and distributed in that way as well. Whereas when you look at in money is not bad. It's not the root of all evils at all. Money, when you look at it from an empathetic way, where, well, if you look at it from an empathetic way, the whole money economy is actually moving over into a gifting economy, really, where you realize, hey, I have enough, but that person over there needs a little bit more right now. They need a hands up. Let me help them. Therefore, the money is not going in between you and the bank, you and the bank, you and the bank, you and the bank, and you and the bank. The money is all of a sudden going from here to Greta over at number 2 Wall Street, and because Greta has just received some gratitude and she feels now a little bit better, she has a different focus, can manage to actually make something else happen for herself. And because that is what she is doing, she can see Peter over at number 5 struggling, and she's passing the money over to him. You have a gifting economy, where actually people
I'd love to
are
see that work through
helping.
the actual world.
Exactly. And that is where I can actually see the current economy struggle so much, where our youngsters are pushing up into, it needs to become more empathy. It needs to become more empathy. Therefore, the whole schooling system is crumbling. You can see it crumble. Like, for me, whenever something is crumbling, whenever something is all up in the air, and it almost looks volatile in terms of a situation, this is a great place to start to create something new.
And I can't agree with you more there. Like one of the Mike Posner songs, it says in the end of every end there's a new beginning.
Yes,
And I truly believe that. And
it's
it's
true.
every time, and I'd love to see a world that freaking everybody was empathetic towards everybody and everybody wanted to love on everybody. because then everybody could truly do what they wanted to do and follow their dreams without feeling judged.
But that is what
And
the
be able to,
world,
we'd live in such a different world.
it's true. It's if you really listen to the many outcries of not only of help, but of whatever is going, blinkers on left or right, white or black, black or white, whichever direction. This is the outcry that we really have. Need more sympathy. What is Black Lives Matter really asking for? Not more
Empathy.
sympathy, empathy. What is the cure for white supremacy? More empathy. What is the answer to the overhang of sympathy in every little genre? More empathy. This is the outcry. The real outcry is for more empathy, not for anything else. Like, yes, it has split up into a gazillion small genres, but even the world itself, in the ecological state where we are in, we need more empathy. We
Can I
need more
read you?
empathy.
I want to read you something that I'm writing for a little speech thing I'm doing for a video. I want to
Yeah,
get your opinion of this since I got you
sure.
online, and it's actually completely about empathy, which has been like our theme and kind of a running thing
Yeah.
I've got thrown through these shows. Um, I'll start at the beginning. It's a real short thing. I wrote, empathy is the ability to identify with what someone else might be feeling. And that connection is what motivates us to treat others the way we want to be treated. It motivates us to be compassionate. It has the power to bring us together, which means empathy has the power to change the world.
It does. That is beautifully written, and it's true. It's very true. It hits the nail on the head, actually, because the only solution we have right now to literally every little problem we have is empathy needs to come out. And the funny part for that is the majority of people on this planet that have been taught empathy are women. So women need to come more to the forefront, not because we are stronger or because we are better or whatever. None of that couldn't be further from the truth, but because we can be women, we have been taught empathy.
When I
So yeah,
honestly think it's like almost a strong woman can tell a man like it's okay to be like to show empathy,
yes,
and other men need to tell other men, hey, dude, it's okay to show, it's okay to cry, it's okay to tell, like, hey, man, I've been there,
yeah,
and they talk about all these suicide organizations and stuff like that, and me being military, I know the other side of it, and like they're always talking about, oh, the 21 or the 22. And it's like, man, if we actually would sit down and be like, it's all right to talk about our feelings and emotions and not be this big tough guy and just be real, say, hey, man, I'm in a low point, and not judge him, be like, oh, he's going to commit suicide, and just be like,
no,
hey, I felt that low. I've been there. And just feel with them and be in that moment with them, instead of just looking down on them and like, oh, there's a silver lining. It sucks. And
but
it's,
this is the confusion in between empathy and sympathy we have. It's like we I've seen it so many times, like you are compelled to apply sympathy almost immediately because you feel like under pressure to give something that you don't have. You don't know how to respond or how to deal with it because you haven't come across it, and you don't want to put pressure. Like immediately you are in a fear cycle, and instead of acknowledging that, wow, you know what, I don't want to even judge that, or I don't want to even know where this is going because I have no idea where this is going, but I have been there. I've been that low. Do you want to talk about it? I'm here to listen. No more is needed. Can you listen? Everyone can listen. You don't need to fix it. I'm not here to fix anybody. You are not here to fix anyone. Um, Things are not fixed over one conversation either way. You're not here to fix. You are being addressed because that person knows somewhere deeper down inside they can trust you. And in that response you're giving, you either betray that trust or you are fully confirming that trust. And you can only fully confirm that trust if you have the empathy to step back and say, whoa, you know what? Wherever you are at, I recognize the lowness. Do you want to talk? And then just listen.
Well, that's where I think that a lot of people have relationships they think are deeper relationships that actually aren't. That are relationships that are almost like um acquaintance relationships that they confuse for being a friendship.
Yes.
And then they are showing them sympathy instead of showing them empathy, but yet it's being misconstrued other ways to where it's non-beneficial to either person in the end.
Yeah.
Structure wise, I think I lost what I was trying to say a little bit, but I think you get what I'm saying.
I get it. You know what? When Tony and I first had our relationship, like the first couple of years, there was an aggravation point for me because I had not acknowledged fully how difficult like that conversation, sympathy versus empathy, is for men. Because my relationships before that were long term, but not that in depth. For Tony, however, I when I opened up to tell him something, he always tried to first straight out fix it. And I was like, it really irritated me. Like, why are you trying to fix it? Like, I'm not asking you to fix anything. Trust me, if I want you to help me to fix it, I will ask you. So it was that conversation, like need versus what am I willing to give. So in that respect, with all respect, all I can say to other women is like, tell your man what you really need right now. Like, make communicational very, very clear what your expectation is from him, because otherwise you will always go somewhere into an aggravation point, and that's not fun, because he's not doing anything but doing what he feels is right, and you are doing exactly the same thing, and both you are right, but you're kind of communicating, not quite on the same lines. So, make your expectation clear, and then you are learning very, very quickly. You're teaching empathy as well as learning to trust. This is a give and take then.
So this is what and I think you and Tony are a lot like me and my wife. Like me and my wife, like we talk about like the way we handle each other. It's like when she wants to just go off and rant and stuff like that, I need to be able to recognize the different situations when she wants to be heard and when she wants suggestions. And
Yes.
most of the time, she just wants to be heard. Where when I'm in that same mode, I'm one of those people that wants suggestions, ideas, stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. So it's just learning each other's love language. And that's being very empathetic towards each other and knowing how they like to be helped and how they get through things.
100%. And you mentioned something very important, learning each other's love language as well. We are not all speaking the same language, even though it might all be English or all be German or all be French. You still don't speak the same language. You don't receive love in the same way. So that is just another loop to the empathy versus sympathy conversation that you need to take care of. But that is a one-off learning, and once you know that, sympathy versus empathy is like an application point. It's a skill set.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize it's something that can be learned, and a lot of
Yes.
people think it's something that is like that they're either born with or they're not. Either they're a happy person or a sad person. But like empathy is this word that people are just like, it's such a scary word.
It's
Honestly, it's well, I consider it an intimate word. Like it's like so many
Mhm.
people, like if you say the word empathy, immediately either they don't understand it completely, or it's so intimate to them that they don't even want to discuss that word with you, because even discussing the word means discussing something of that's deep. You know,
It's correct, but you know what? It's another perception. It really is like any other perception. It's like empathy has been made into this weird concept of, oh, I don't want to go there. That's like that's dangerous. That's like, no, that's going too deep. It's like, for me, even the word deep is like, well, you have skin, you have flesh, you have bones. How deep can you go? um you know, it's like, feeling wise, yes, there's depth, there's highs, there's lows, there's whatever you want to call it, but it's only, you're naming it so you can bring across a certain perception you have, nothing more, nothing less. So it's the same when we talk about ego. I sometimes utilize the word ego in a total different perceptional context than other people do. I'm noticing often when I say, um, and then, you know, you have your ego, and they are like, whoa, no, I have no ego. Like, we all have ego. That's nothing bad. Ego has been made out this really bad word. Nobody can have ego because ego is bad. No, 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 we are not talking about ego. I don't want ego. Completely failing to understand that ego makes up your personality. Ego actually allows you as well to be spatially aware around you. That's part of your ego. Now, you take ego away, you're no one. You're back to pre 2 years old, where ego was not formed yet. That's pretty much it. It's like, no, we all have ego, and ego isn't bad. Just because I name it, we are not talking about anything bad. Ego doesn't make you a bad personality. Ego makes you a person aware of who you are. It makes you the individual.
I think sometimes you can have too much ego, because I definitely know I have too much ego some days.
Well, but who is in control of the ego?
Me.
Exactly. So unless it suits you, you
I
know,
like too much ego. It's like having too much hot sauce. It's not a real
it,
thing.
that's an opinion. It's a personal opinion. As long as you are in charge of your ego and your ego is not taking over you, that is where your personality is
Oh
being
yeah.
flipped. So, you know, ego, when we talk about ego, then there's nothing bad. It's being made out bad. It's just like empathy. We are not talking about anything really deep. No, we are talking about something very normal. Both are very normal words, so I don't know why they have such a weird annotation to them.
Well, that's what I'm hoping. The more people talk about them, and the more it's actually conversated in the open, that the
Yes,
easier it's
I
going to
mean,
become, and the more commonplace it becomes, to where people will just understand it as being something that's normal.
yes, I agree, 100%.
But I just realized how late we've been chatting and everything like that. I've been having so much
I
fun
don't know.
chatting with you, and just
I don't even know what time it is.
I think it's like 7:15 here, 7:20 here.
Oh
So we've been
wow.
on the phone for like almost 2.5 hours.
That's amazing. But chatting with you is really, really easy. It comes easy, so I'm not surprised.
Well, it's so much fun chatting with you, because I love to hear your perspectives and to hear stuff from a different point of view, and really just like hear what you're saying and try and just take it in, and like, see what it is, kind of compare it to the different sides of different sides of the fence,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
And that's
yeah.
why I wanted to have you on separate than Tony. It's like, I'll have Tony on first, then I'll bring Carmen on. I'll get her side of the story. Then bring
Yeah,
Tony back
cool.
on.
Brilliant, brilliant.
But
Oh,
something I've
very
been
good.
doing with all my guests, is I've been having them pick out, and you can just email them to me, and we're gonna post them up as your 5 like songs that get you motivated, that get you going, that are just like if you're in the car, you'd be start speeding, or if you were like you're there and you're sad and you need to get up, and it's just like, bam, that song is just like, all right, that's my groove. Hmm.
Cool. I have to ask Tony. Ask Tony. I'm really, really bad in remembering. I know the songs for myself, but I would not be able to name the group, the singer, or the genre, or the titles. I,
Oh, that's fine.
this is
And
my head does not retain that. I have them, trust me, I do, but my head doesn't retain that information for whatever reason. I don't
oh,
know.
and you're good. That's why I'm saying it's a thing we'll post up later. My goal is to we're gonna make a Spotify playlist with everybody's,
Awesome.
and it's gonna be one big giant like motivational playlist of all the songs that get everybody's booties going.
I can't wait to hear that list. That must be amazing.
So, and it's just I figured it's something fun to do, and just like
I
I don't
agree.
know, I'm just trying to change up how things are. Like just have fun with my friends and be able to share
Yeah.
music with them across borders.
But that's exactly what you're doing. As long as you have fun, you're changing something because it's in your flow
Oh,
and people
I
can feel
appreciate
it.
that.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm just trying to enjoy life as it is and just try and do what I can in the situations we're given and try and spread the good word everywhere I possibly can and try and just talk to people and just talk to them about how their life's going.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like to me that's such an important thing to do. Is just talk to them about like, how are you in your situation, and because I honestly believe because my friends, I'm just saying it right now, most of my friends, even though the people may not generalize them as successful, I consider them very successful because they're following their
Mm-hmm.
dreams, because they're doing what makes them happy.
Yeah,
And if you're doing that, then I completely believe you're 110% successful.
yeah.
And
And you're right.
inside of that lies the key to being happy.
Yes. I personally believe you work on your happiness and you're inevitably successful.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what it is. So
And if we can help make at least one person happy and change one person's life, at least in the whole time we do all of it, I'm happy.
true. I think for that to happen, the encouragement to do your own thing is probably the best thing you can do for others. And I think those conversations um, do exactly that, because the encouragement to think for yourself, the encouragement to think critically, to give your creativity a full flow and reins over what you want to do, and who you are as a person. And as well, just stand straight for yourself and say, no, this is me. This is my opinion. I can feel this. My compass is telling me this is what I need to do. And I know I may not have all the skills right now, but I know I can do it. And just hold on to that. You will make it. That's the encouragement I can give everyone. And I think this is what you're doing with every conversation you're having.
That's exactly it. You can't you nailed it right on the head. Where I really want to try and help other people and uplift others, and at the same time, it makes me uplift myself. You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
always say a teacher learns more by teaching. You know,
Yes.
and
But
so if you're out there trying to teach about empathy, I'm just going to learn more about it every day, every time, and that just makes me a better teacher.
definitely. The thing I learned is, for as long as you cannot repeat it to another person so it makes sense to yourself, you're not ready to teach. So that's pretty much it. Learn more, learn as much as you can until you can repeat it. From repeating, yes, you can then teach, but you're refining.
You know. Um, Thank you so much for coming on, and I know it's super late over there for you, and I really appreciate you guys.
Yes. I
And
appreciate having been on with you. My eyes are a little bit burning right now, but it was really, really, I did not feel the time pass. So
I didn't either. I looked at the
appreciate
clock and I was like, "Holy crap! How late is this?"
it. So yes, we are past midnight. Dirty stop out. Thanks for
But
having me. Really,
oh,
really. I enjoyed myself.
Well, and I really appreciate you coming on, and we'll probably have you guys coming on again here probably in a couple months. We'll check back in and see where you guys are. We might bring both you guys on at the same time and have some fun this next time.
Yeah, we'll do that.
So, but I
Cool.
will let you go, and thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Say hi to Cody and tell him thank you for holding the fort in the back end. There you are. Take care. Take care, both of you. Love you loads.
All right, love you guys too. You guys have fun.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. And